It's 6 a.m. The alarm hasn't gone off, but you're already awake, body aching. A tight weight behind your ribs that never quite leaves. You get up, coffee, first email. From the outside, you look fine. You've told yourself, this is what healing looks like. But psychology tells a different story. Two processes hide under the same word. Getting better, one is coping. One is recovery. They look identical from the outside. Underneath, only one actually ends. 6 quiet differences, separate people who truly recover from people who have just gotten good at coping. The 6th is the one nobody warns you about. Trait 1. The way the body finishes what it started. Coping keeps the body's stress response running in the background, like a browser tab you forgot was open. You feel calm on the surface, but your shoulders are still up around your ears. Recovery does something coping never manages to do. It lets the stress cycle actually complete. A threat response isn't finished when the threat ends. It's finished when the body discharges it. Through movement, trembling, crying, some physical release that tells the nervous system the danger is genuinely over. And here's the strange part. The people who look most recovered are sometimes the ones whose bodies never got that signal at all. They just learned to override it. The alarm is still quietly ringing, and they've simply gotten skilled at ignoring the sound. You've probably felt this without naming it. The jaw that stays clenched through an easy afternoon. The exhale that never quite empties all the way out, even on a good day when nothing is actually wrong. And a body that never got that signal doesn't just stay tense. It keeps flagging whatever caused it as unfinished, which is exactly where the next difference begins. Trait 2. What actually happens to the memory? Coping treats a painful memory like a wound you keep bandaged and never look at directly. You avoid the triggers, change the subject, get efficient at steering conversations away from it. Recovery does the opposite. It lets the memory get integrated, turned from a raw, reactive fragment into an actual story you can tell without your whole body flinching. This is where most people get stuck, because integration requires something coping is designed to avoid. Feeling the thing fully, one more time on your own terms. But the timing of that matters more than people expect. Feel it too early, before you're ready, and it just re-wounds you. The real skill isn't confronting the memory. It's approaching it at exactly the pace your nervous system can actually metabolize. Picture the difference in a single moment. Someone brings it up at dinner, casually, not even meaning to. Coping shows up as a fast subject change, a joke, a sudden interest in the menu. Recovery shows up as a pause, a breath, and then an answer that doesn't require you to leave the room inside your own head. But integrating a memory doesn't just change how you tell the story. It starts to change who you think you are when you tell it. Trait 3. Who you think you are because of it. Coping keeps the difficult event locked in its own separate room, something that happened to you, sealed off from the rest of your identity. Recovery lets that event become part of the larger story of who you are, without letting it become the only chapter. Someone who's coping says, "I'm fine," and means, "I've contained it." Someone who's recovering can say, "That happened, and it shaped me," without their voice changing. The difference isn't how painful the story still is to tell. It's whether telling it costs you something every single time, or whether it's simply become true. You can hear it in how someone answers a simple question like, "What happened?" One version comes out rehearsed, guarded, almost defensive. The other comes out plainly, the way you describe any other fact of your life, because it finally is one. If you've made it this far, hit subscribe. And once an event stops defining you, something else quietly shifts too. How much of yourself you still feel like you have to protect from everyone around you. Trait 4. Whether you need other people to feel safe. Coping often looks like independence because coping is frequently a solo project. You learn to manage this alone, so you keep managing it alone. Recovery, almost without exception, involves being witnessed, not fixed, witnessed. There's a process called co-regulation, where your nervous system literally borrows stability from someone else's calm presence. The way a scared child's heart rate slows down just from being held. People who are only coping read that as weakness, so they quietly opt out of it. But here's what nobody tells you about that: self-reliance under pressure isn't strength. It's often just the absence of anyone safe enough to lean on. And the body knows the difference, even when your pride doesn't. Think about the last time something went wrong and your first instinct was to handle it quietly, alone, before anyone noticed. That instinct feels like control. Often it's just the oldest habit you have, the one that learned long ago, that needing someone was a risk you couldn't afford twice. And someone who never lets anyone see the struggle rarely lets themselves picture an easier version of what comes next either, which is exactly where the next difference shows up. Trait 5. What your future looks like when you close your eyes. This is where coping hides its clearest signature. Ask someone who's coping to picture 5 years from now, and the picture gets vague, or loops back to managing the same problem, just further down the road. Recovery restores something specific, a future that isn't organized around the wound anymore. Not a future with no scars, a future where the scar isn't the main character. Psychologists call this the return of future orientation, one of the clearest markers that something has actually shifted, not just settled. If your future still feels like a longer version of your coping strategy, that's not a character flaw, it's information. Close your eyes right now and picture next year. If the first thing that shows up is relief, just the absence of the old pain, that's still the coping picture talking. Recovery's version usually has something in it that has nothing to do with the wound at all. And that shift from picturing relief to picturing something entirely new points to something underneath all 5 of these differences, something that hasn't been named yet. Trait 6. The first 5 are what recovery looks like from the outside. This is what it actually is. Coping is a management system. Its purpose is to keep things stable and functional, and it's genuinely good at that job, sometimes for decades. But management systems don't grow, they maintain. Recovery isn't better at managing the pain. It replaces the need to manage it at all, because the thing underneath it has actually changed. This explains why so many people spend years feeling fine, and then hit a wall they can't explain: a relationship, a loss, a quiet Tuesday that cracks the whole structure open. It wasn't weakness. It was a coping system, finally meeting something too big for it to contain. Maybe that's where you are right now, or where you were 2 years ago and only now understand. Either way, the wall wasn't proof you failed at healing. It was proof healing had never actually finished. It had just gone quiet for a while. Recovery doesn't promise that things won't be big again. It just means you're no longer meeting them with a system that was only ever designed to hold, not to heal. You were never lazy for taking this long. You were never broken for still feeling it sometimes. You were coping, because coping was the only tool you had at the time. And now you know the difference between managing something and actually moving through it. Which one of these hit closest to home? Tell me the number in the comments.